Hey guys, it's Alix.
And Kayla.
And we're married, not related, definitely codependent.
But in a cute way.
And we're back.
Are so excited that you're here. Before we jump in, you know that I have to just say thank you to everyone who's been leaving reviews, commenting on the socials, on Spotify. I love that you can do that now, that you can comment. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, I need to go look. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, you can leave comments on a Spotify episode. So
whoa,
whenever we're saying like, oh, go vote, or, telling you these things with who's the problem, we do put it on our socials and we love when you join us there. But also you can comment on Spotify or on YouTube. So anyways, thank you. And please keep reviewing and sharing because that's how we grow.
That's amazing. And guess what?
What?
It's my turn to lead this week.
Oh, no.
What do you mean? Oh, no.
I don't know. I just got nervous.
Why?
I don't know.
This is going to be exciting.
Okay.
I'm putting you on the spot with something really fun this week.
Okay.
Which is I'm going to give you a series of two people you get to choose from.
Okay.
One is a bi girl.
Uh-huh.
And or I guess a bi person. And one is a lesbian.
Okay.
And so we're going bis versus lesbians. And you're going to tell us who you'd rather date.
Okay.
In this series.
Fun.
Very exciting. All right. The first one is Renee Rapp or Cara Delevingne.
Renee.
Okay.
She's my queen. I love her.
Chalk up one for the lesbian column. I'll take it. Kristen Stewart or Miley Cyrus?
Kristen. I mean, it's just how do you compete? I mean, Miley is also, of course, Miley and iconic, but it's just like Kristen
Stewart and Charlie's Angels. I just have to say her haircut, her outfits.
Okay, relax.
I basically just want to be her in that movie.
Okay.
She's so attractive.
That's probably like one of the things that people Google. It's like, am I gay or do I just want to be this person? This happens all the time with.
I'm gay and I want to be Kristen Stewart.
But it's so confusing when you're a gay girl or a bi girl because it's like the feeling is so similar.
Sure. Okay. Shannon Beveridge or Fletcher?
Fletcher.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Shane or Alice?
I love them both for different reasons, but if we're dating, Alice. Because Shane, I mean,
she's a better partner and friend, I think.
I would love to be her friend. Minus the whole her hooking up with Jenny's girlfriend thing, but also it's Jenny. So, maybe it's well deserved, but
Fair
Alice
enough.
is a good partner.
Okay. Ellen DeGeneres or Drew Barrymore?
Drew.
Also, you just found out that Drew was bi.
I know. I'm like trying to think. I'm like, did I know that?
And she's like the cutest person in the whole world.
In my mind, kind of everyone in Hollywood is a little queer. Because it's like these were all theater kids. And I don't know. It's just like, I'm sure everyone's a little fluid. But yeah, Drew is, again, a queen.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. And then G-Flip or JoJo Siwa?
Oh, God. I'm going G-Flip because JoJo is just a child in my mind. And it has nothing to do with all of her lore and everything that, by the way, spoiler alert, we are doing a JoJo Siwa lore episode next week. So you'll have to tune in for that. It's not because of that. It is simply because in my mind, she is a child. And that's obviously disgusting. Not because she's disgusting, but because,
Fair enough.
Yeah. And G-Flip is...
Also, like the bow era was a little bit, weird.
It was a little bit much.
But G-Flip's cool.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah. And beautiful and fun. Yeah. And I mean, I think they'd be a riot.
So what's so great about this game was that it's a perfect tie between the bis and the lesbian. Which is like,
how I know you're bi.
You can't make up your mind.
That is not okay. First of all, we're gonna do some bi myth busting in this episode. It's not about not being able to make up my mind. It's about I don't want to. Why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't I like lesbians sometimes and like bi people some other times?
And
Why
then
do I
like
have to
dudes
choose?
some other times.
Well, I said bi people, so those could be in the dude category.
Fair enough.
But
Well, I think it's just very fitting for this episode that it was a perfect split down the middle.
This is why I say my bisexuality is so much more than my sexual orientation. Like this is my identity, my personality in so many ways.
It comes out all the time.
All the time.
In weird ways.
And I love it.
Well, I love it too.
I might be a little biased, but
you're my bicon.
Bias.
So, well, we've been hinting at what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
What we're talking about today is going to be basically the ongoing feud between lesbians and bisexuals.
Yeah. More specifically, I would say bi girls or bi
girls and lesbians.
Non-binary people in general, but I don't really feel like lesbians have a feud with bi men.
Yeah. And I feel like, okay, so I came out, I don't know, 17 years ago at this point, something like that. It's almost 20 years ago.
So crazy.
And so back in like 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been so funny because we've been rewatching The L Word, which we're going to get into later at a future episode. We're gonna do a queer culture episode on The L Word. And, that was kind of filmed by like 2004 through 2009. So during the time I was coming out, and the feud is strong in The L Word if you go back and watch it. So this has been happening for a long time. And I think it's been going back well before that even, right?
Yeah.
I feel like since the dawn of queerness, there's been a feud between bisexual girls and lesbians.
Well, I have no idea about the dawn of queerness, but I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm thinking of like back in biblical times or something. Do I think that lesbians and bi girls were feuding? Probably not. But I know that what we found when we were because we first started talking about this idea, and obviously it was also prevalent because there's been a lot in the current media.
Yes.
With JoJo, with Fletcher, with Billie Eilish, with Betty Who and the Made It Out podcast, all of that kind of stuff. So there's been a lot of talk about this online. And you had said, you're like, okay, but this has been happening since at least I came out. And so I just did a little quick Google and was like, when did it start? And of course, again, who knows like when it really started? But one of the things that it pointed to directly was that radical lesbian manifesto that came out in the early 70s or maybe even 1970 during that peak wave of feminism that was happening.
Yeah.
So
it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah. And I thought that was super interesting because it's like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's just because of woke culture, or it's just because of, like this kind of modern day political climate. And that's actually not true at all.
Yeah. So we thought it'd be fun to talk about it, especially now more than ever, because basically the country is extremely divided.
Yeah.
It's not just the bis and the lesbians that are divided.
Not just the queer country, our own little climate.
And I mean, we have in our own house and on our nightly walks, which you guys hear about all the time, we have spicy conversations in private. And we realize like how important it is to also have these types of conversations where there's like two sides to it and two very different arguments, and be able to have that also publicly. And I feel like a lot of times we don't do that publicly because it's like either you feel like, you have to be perfect and like politically correct when you're navigating through this, or else you'll get canceled. And so it can feel really scary, I feel like, to have, maybe conversations that you're used to having in private and have them publicly.
Yeah. And not even just between us, but with some of our other queer friends.
Yeah.
We had a girls' night on Saturday and we were talking about some of this stuff. And it was like, oh, I would feel scared to record that and put that out into the world, which these are just open, honest, curious conversations that we're having as we're all just trying to figure out life. And so it's funny because initially you started by saying like, oh, we're excited to have this conversation. I'm like, are we? Because I feel like we're actually a little
really
nervous.
Yeah, because just the way I've been really struggling with this. I'll just be super honest. Like what I feel is that, so I'm not a super online person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like really express my opinions online very frequently. And I see what happens when people do express their opinions. It's like, we're so quick to cancel people. Like this cancel culture thing is so strong. I know we all hear it. It's like annoying to even talk about at this point, but it's like what I see is if you hold this belief, then you are a bad person, and therefore, like, you know, you shouldn't. I don't even know
have a platform,
have a voice, whatever. And it's just like people today really struggle to have differing opinions from the people from people in their lives and maintain relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like, so that makes me feel nervous, like expressing differing points of views. But I also understand to a degree. But I think like what I've chosen to do in my life is like be open to having those differing points of views with people and still maintain relationships and like come at things from a place of understanding and curiosity and non-judgment. And it makes the conversations more interesting.
Well, I think that the funny thing about that is that, in my opinion, it's like queerness means something different to everyone. Like there's a definition in the dictionary. Sure, you can look that up and see what the actual definition is. But as far as queerness in your lifestyle, it can mean something different to everyone. And I think a large part of that has to do with breaking binaries. We talk about that all the time with gender binaries, but there's also this really strong binary in thinking where, like you said, it's like if you think this, you're good. If you think this, you're bad. That's very black and white. And there's not a lot of room for nuance, not a lot of room for questioning. And for me, it's like living in my queerness and being queer is staying open and questioning and being able to see both sides and trying to break that binary thinking in myself of not automatically putting someone into a bucket just because of one thing that they said or one thought that they had, and being like, okay, but why did they say that? Or where is that coming from? And yeah, I mean, again, I'm sure I'm biased because this is how I move through life. And I think most people, when you're choosing to move through life in a certain way, you of course think that that's the best way to do it. But I do think that the world could benefit from that so much. So it's like, yes, we see that in the lesbian versus bi girl conversation, but we see that in our community at large, like not just in the world, but also within that LGBTQ community where it can get very binary. So that's just something that we kind of want to challenge, I guess, and want to, that's one of the reasons to have long form content like this, where there's space and time to actually get into it instead of a 5-second reel, or even if you fill up the whole caption on your Instagram, it still only really scratches the surface. So
yeah,
all of that to say, we know that this conversation won't be perfect.
No.
And we are open to feedback. Feedback is very different of being like, hey, this is why this might have felt hurtful or offensive to me or this group. That's very different than saying, oh, this is blank phobic, whichever one, lesphobic, biphobic, homophobic, whatever it is. And therefore, we don't like you anymore.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you're bad people.
There's no room for growth. So,
because I think the conversation that we want to have is like really around the stereotypes that we've heard or experienced, in this conversation, the fears that we've had because of our own personal experiences as it relates to,
and the myths.
Yeah, and the myths, and just be able to like openly talk about our experiences and like thoughts that we've had without it being a place of like, and now you're this like bad person.
Yeah. And
so hopefully this can be a space for that and to like open up these conversations. And we feel qualified to talk about it not because we're experts, because we're not. And I'm not the most politically correct person in the world. So I'm going to use the wrong terms. I'm going to make mistakes. So are you. That's just who we are.
Yeah.
But the reason why we feel qualified to have is because we are a lesbian and a bisexual in a marriage. And we faced some of the stereotypes and fears and myths when we first got together. And so we thought like, who better to talk about this than us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my hope for this conversation, I think our hope for this conversation is that, we can have this discussion and like, have this be a place where we can just openly talk and make mistakes and like learn and live and navigate through it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, I just want to say I have faith in our listeners.
Me too.
That they are also on that same path. So yay, all of us.
Woohoo.
Yay. Let's do this.
Okay. So let's talk about how this kind of showed up in our relationship first. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who listen to
episode
one, our love story, we didn't get into some of these things, but when we were first kind of deciding whether or not to be together, one of the things that I was showing up with was a list of rules, essentially. And
she loves a rule.
I love rules. Okay. And what I mean by that is it was essentially a list of like walls and barriers that I had put up from previous relationships or being hurt by other people or witnessing other people being hurt in these types of situations. And so I had this rule book essentially of who I was going to date, who I was not going to date.
Tell them the rules.
Okay. So I had 3 rules and I'll go through them and why I had them. The first one was, I think, pretty straightforward. No long distance relationships. Okay. My first girlfriend, we were in a long distance relationship and it took such a toll on us. It became so toxic and so sad. And I also know that for me, I'm the type of person like I need to be next to somebody.
You need quality time.
I need quality time.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I really felt called to do as a long-term relationship.
And on a side note, I had almost only had long distance relationships because of my lifestyle. I was living out of a backpack. I didn't really have a home. So just by nature, there was always stretches of time where I wasn't with whoever I was dating. So I wasn't that I liked that. It was just that I liked my lifestyle so much I wasn't willing to change that for a relationship. So I had no problem with it.
Mm-hmm. My second rule was no baby gays. Basically, I was unwilling to date someone who hadn't already been in a long-term relationship with a woman and had experiences with
and
women.
To be fair, you were 32.
I was 32.
You had come out however many years ago.
Ready to get married.
You were ready to get married and you'd already kind of done that phase. I
had dated many baby gays.
Yeah.
This is nothing against the baby gays, okay? But for me, it's a great responsibility to be the first person that, you are dating of the same sex.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was just a recognition of this is a big experience to go through, to be someone's first. They're usually not ready for a long-term commitment with their first person that they date of the same sex. And there's a lot to navigate in that coming out experience with your family, with your friends. And for me, it was like I was ready to be with somebody who had that experience and was ready to get married and who kind of knew who they were.
And just to put it in perspective for someone who's maybe straight or hasn't had, a gay relationship, it would be like being 32 and being like, yeah, I don't really want to date someone who's never been in a relationship before.
Yeah.
You want someone to have experience by a certain age. It's just like, I've already done that. So, I mean, I think it is fair enough. And it's better than taking it lightly because it is a responsibility. It should be taken as such and not taken lightly.
It is.
And by the way, I was a baby gay. So we're just painting the picture
here.
Well,
I'm just going to say that all the rules that I had applied to you. You broke all of my rules. And here we are married, 6 years later. So, fuck rules. But my last rule was no bi girls.
Uh-huh.
And I know that, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this now.
Don't be embarrassed.
I am embarrassed because my wife is a bicon.
Yeah.
And she's beautiful and sexy and perfect. And we love the bicons. So I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this, but rule number 3 was no bi girls. And the reason behind that was that it was less about my own personal experience, but I had known a lot of people who dated bi girls and they pretty much all either got left or at the end of their relationship, they ended up dating and therefore marrying men. And so my takeaway from this, and I think this is one of the big myths and stereotypes, is like the thing that I felt in my core was like, if you have a choice and you could be with a guy or a girl, it's easier to just be with a dude. So like they're going to just pick the dude anyways, because it's just like going to be easier for them in the end. So why even pursue that if that's, eventually what they're going to do?
Yeah.
That was like what I felt to be true.
There's 2 things that you said there that I would like to touch on, and I already know that you know what they are. One of them is the trigger word choice.
I know.
Choice.
I know you hate that.
Again, as queer people, choice, I think for most queer people is kind of that trigger word. Like, it's not a choice. I was born this way. Haven't you heard the Gaga song? What the hell? And I understand what you're saying where bi people, I think it's more of just an ability. It's not a choice. I didn't we say this all the time. We didn't feel like we even had a choice being like, we had to be together.
There was no choice.
There was no possible way.
The universe conspired for us to be together.
So, but I have the ability to also love men or to be with men sexually and that not feel like this violation, horrible thing that it often feels like to most lesbians. You know, I have the ability to do that. But yes, so I could choose to be with a man because that would make my life easier. But that doesn't mean I'm choosing the right person because like you are my person. You know?
That's right. I am your person.
But I think also, I think that belief of like, oh, well, they're just going to choose a man because it's easier. It's like there is some truth in that, again, because the society as a whole, the world as a whole, even in 2025, and even if you live in the States like we do, which has had a ton of progression when it comes to gay rights, but still the world at large is extremely homophobic. It's unsafe for us to go to a lot of countries still. We couldn't do fertility treatments in most countries around the world. Like it still is a very heteronormative society.
Yeah.
So yes, it's easier to fit in with the majority being hetero versus the homos. But I also think that kind of belief of, oh, it's easier or almost better to be with a man, it's also kind of like misogyny in there where it's like men are superior. That's what I don't necessarily always see it from you, but I have felt that when I've heard other lesbians talk about it and I understand where they're coming from because there's this feeling of, at least the way that you've explained it to me, where it's like, it's not just that I feel like they're better. It's like, I can never be that though. That's something I can never be. I can like never give that to you.
We're not competing. We can't compete. We are two totally different things.
Yeah. But there's something about that makes it feel, I don't know. It makes it feel worse for women, I feel, than like a man being with a woman and a woman leaving him for another woman. He doesn't necessarily feel as bad. It doesn't seem like than a woman being with a woman and leaving her for a man. There's this feeling of like, oh, that feels like this ultimate betrayal. And this is a huge generalization. I know that there's a ton of space in between, but I don't know. It feels to me like a little bit of just kind of like misogyny there where it's like men are superior. How can I compete with that? But you're saying you're not competing. I don't know. It feels
I can relate to that a little bit where you're just like, it's just a tricky thing. But then also like what I've realized is that it's also not just like, oh, they're going to end up with a guy anyways. It's also just like the queer dating pool is so much smaller than the straight dating pool. So if you're bi, the chance of you meeting a dude that you're attracted to versus like a woman who's queer that you're attracted to, it's just like there's so many more of them. It's like 10-1. So it's like, well, they're just going to have a lot more male options.
Simple gay math.
It's just gay math over here.
Okay, we're just doing like, gay stats.
So I think that's as well like why
easier.
Part of why I thought that was, well, it's just like, well, she has way more options with guys as well. And maybe she never found her, female partner or female soulmate. And it was, I don't know. And that's part of the why you see like that, the numbers game of that.
Yeah. So those were your 3 roles. I was all of those things or, the long distance. I'm obviously bi. I didn't know that I was bi at the time. Like I didn't have that definition of myself, but it was something. And we talked about this in our love story in episode 1, how I was kind of withholding from you that I'd been with women before, sexually, or even just like casually dated a woman before. And part of the reason I withheld that is because I felt like, oh, you're going to think, I don't know, like it just didn't feel gay enough. It felt like, oh, you're just going to see me as another bi girl who's using girls for experiments, or I don't know, like it just didn't feel like enough to be like, yes, I've had experiences with women before, but I've only had long-term relationships with men. So I don't know, I felt almost like guilty and embarrassed, and I just felt weird about it. I felt weird about telling you, on top of knowing, yes, if I told you, then you would know I was flirting with you all along. Like there was,
you felt like I would judge you and be like, you're not queer enough, so I'm not gonna be interested in you.
Yeah, but that was after you had made the comment to me about bi girls. Like I didn't just think that out of nowhere. It was because I was like, oh, okay, I know how you think about bi girls, where it's just kind of like, it's a phase. It's not almost real is kind of how,
Right.
I don't remember the exact comment that you had made, but it was something along those lines where it's like, oh, whatever, like bi girls. They just kind of like, whatever.
I don't know what I
they
said,
don't know
but
what
I'm
they're
sure
doing.
I said something stupid.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I was like, oh God, am I that? And then I felt guilty because I was like, did I use women? But
yeah.
by the way, the girl that I dated was also bi, so I don't think so.
I know. It's tricky because it's like, I think, so that is like a big reason why I feel like the lesbians have hardened against bi girls is like that feeling of being used. And I think it comes in a few different forms. So I think like one is just, what I think it happens all the time, which is girls who are like make out with their girlfriends, but it's like for guys' attention. It's like this like centering around the male gaze.
Yeah.
Like I'll hook up with a girl basically like for guys' attention. And so I feel like that piece of it is just like, that doesn't feel good.
Of course not.
That part of it. But there's like, I think there's other elements to it, which is like my experience was when I was really young and going to all the gay bars in my early 20s, an experience that I would have many times was that bi girls would come to the gay bars like with their boyfriends, but you wouldn't know their boyfriends were there at first, and they'd be like trying to bring you home, like they'd be like trying to proposition you for a threesome, and then you realize like, oh, they're here with their boyfriend, they're like trying to find someone to like hook up with.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to go home with you and your boyfriend. Like, I am a lesbian. Like, I'll hook up with you. And it just feels like, I don't know what it feels like fully, but it's like, okay, it's like, are you doing this for you or are you doing this for your boyfriend's attention?
I don't think it matters. I think even if she was doing it for herself, it still is using you. Because it's like, not only do you not want to hook up with the boyfriend, you wouldn't even hook up with her if the boyfriend was just watching.
No.
You don't want a man to be involved in your sexual experience at all, period.
Right. And so it just feels like this like lack of respect.
Yeah.
Of like you coming into this space and then you're trying to like convince me to have a threesome with you and your boyfriend. I'm like, why are you here? I don't want this.
Yeah. And I just think in general, for the most part, okay, it's like, yes, maybe if my wife is sexualizing me and objectifying me, it's like kind of cute and sweet sometimes. But in general, I would say we don't really like that. Not really.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, I don't know, I associate that with kind of being more of a man thing to do to women. And then when women do that to other women, it's like, what are you doing? You know better than that.
Yeah.
Don't sexualize me that way.
They're doing it for their guys. I think sometimes.
Or it's just that it's like that brainwashing again of misogyny, or like that is just the culture where,
yeah,
you know, maybe they really are doing it for themselves and they want that experience for themselves. But it's either performative for men or it's just disrespectful. That's what I mean by sexualizing, where it's like there's this level of respect that's taken away that makes you feel gross. It makes me feel like I want to like cover myself up, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I can understand why that you even see it in movies, you see it talked about. Do you know who Brandi Glanville is?
Was she a housewife or something like that?
She was a housewife.
I think you've told me about her.
And she was an early Beverly Hills housewife, so back in the more early 2000s. And she, in her book and stuff, she would call herself a waist up lesbian. So even just things like that, where it's like, I don't know, it feels disrespectful. You know, it's like, that's not it, because there's something about it to be like, oh yeah, I would kiss a girl, but ew, I would never go down on her. There's something it seems mean.
What about I would hook up with a girl and date a girl, but I'll never marry one.
Yeah.
I'll only marry guys.
It's just kind of like you're never enough. It's this, I don't know what that is. Is that also misogyny? Is that, I don't know what that is, but it feels just mean. And I think it's most of the time unintentional. I don't think the person's trying to be mean, but it makes the girl feel like a plaything, like an object. And that's what I mean by sexualized. Like you're just objectified totally.
Because my thing is, everyone's allowed to have preferences.
Of course.
And if that's how you feel, right? Which is like, I'll date a girl or hook up with a girl, but I won't marry one. Like, respect. But it feels disrespectful to be on the receiving end of that as a lesbian, because it's like it feels like you're just using us, like you're just experimenting with us to use us as part of your like sexual journey, but ultimately you'll never take us seriously for whatever reason. And so for me, that's why I just like, first of all, I've heard so many people say that. So many people like in my life, our friends have said that to us. Like lots of people in our life I've heard kind of say that of like, and I think you would probably have been in that category before you met me, right? You probably would have said like, yeah, I'll hook up with a girl, but I'm only going to marry a guy.
It wasn't, I never felt that. It was more that I just literally didn't see myself marrying a woman. And that's more what I didn't even realize I was bi. I just thought everybody likes both. And it is normal, but you know, I just thought this is how everyone is. I didn't even realize I needed to come out. So yeah, it was more that it wasn't even in my awareness. The same way that so many gay people talk about that, how they're like, oh, it sounds so silly to say. And I think it's harder for younger generations to understand this in 2025 of how you don't realize that you could marry the same sex because it is everywhere now and in media and stuff. But it wasn't that way when we grew up. So it just wasn't in my awareness of something that was going to be for me. And I think it is tricky because it doesn't mean you aren't allowed to have those preferences. Like you said, you're allowed to, and it is really hard, I would imagine, being a baby gay, and you are kind of experimenting because you are figuring yourself out, but it's just making sure that you have open communication. You're not treating that person like an object. You're telling them where you're at, you know? And I think it's very different to say, I don't know what I want yet. I don't know if I want a long-term relationship yet versus, oh, I would never marry a woman though. You know, like that's totally different to kind of act like it's gross or weird.
Yeah.
So it's like it is important and you are allowed to have those preferences. I think it is important to communicate those, but just try to be respectful when you do.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get it. This sexuality is such a spectrum. Like everyone always talks about that. And there's lots of people who are like, oh yes, I'll kiss a girl or I'll hook up with one or I'll date one, and like various levels. And that's totally fine. I think it's just like, it feels disrespectful to be on the receiving on that if it's like not handled super well.
Yeah. And I think it is fair that it's some women. If you say, oh, I don't want to marry a woman, maybe you've already had relationships with women and you're like, I just get along. I don't understand how this could be possible, but I get along better with men in relationships. Like my relationships are smoother with men. Again, I call
do you feel like
fake news on that. But
do you feel like at this point, like you're the opposite? You're like, if we weren't together because of I died.
A tragedy. Don't even say it.
I'm not dying. But you know, if something happened, you're like, I could date a guy, but I could never marry one.
Kind of. I don't even know if I could date. I feel more like I could hook up with a guy, but I don't know if I could date him. Because, and I've told you this before too, and we'll never kind of know that in relation, like I only had long-term relationships with men. We met when I was 31. So I had multiple long-term adult relationships with men. And there was always this thing that felt like it was missing. It never felt gendered. It didn't feel like, oh, I'm fantasizing about women being with this. It wasn't like that for me. But it always felt like this itch that couldn't be scratched. And what I think it was now was it was not just that they weren't a woman. It was just like my queerness wasn't fully expressed because I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And also, they just weren't my person. So it's like maybe even if I was dating only women at that time and I was fully queer, maybe I would still feel that way, like, oh, something is missing.
Yeah.
But I do think it is a combination of those two things. So it's like it would be really hard for me to be in a queer relationship, marriage for years, and then all of a sudden go back to being straight, even though I'm still queer. But when I mean being straight, it's like being in a straight relationship, being in a straight world. That would be really hard.
I know, because your queerness like has to go back into a box because you're like living in the straight world.
Unless, like I said, unless it was with a bi guy, because then I feel like there would be this understanding there.
Sure.
Where you're still in this queer relationship.
And then all of your friends would be queer as well. So you'd have like queer culture around you.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not just.
It's the culture that's like around you. Because it's like if you're in a straight relationship, but you're bi, it's like you live in the straight world.
But you're still, me being with a man, even if he was a bi man, And depending on how he looked and presented and everything, it's like we still would be treated as a straight couple in the world, which is that in and of itself is very different, of down to, oh, we want to go on vacation this year. Where can we go? We can go anywhere. We can do whatever we want, whereas
straight privilege.
Yeah. So it would be different. You're still living in a straight world. You're getting that straight privilege. But if you at least have some of the culture around you and at least have that understanding within that person, because it's like, yeah, I've dated guys before where they knew that I also liked girls and they were like, oh, cool. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. They're like, sweet. That means threesomes, right?
Well, it's like I told you this, I would never, and I have never had a threesome with someone I've been in a relationship with. It was only ever with people that I just kind of liked but didn't want to date because I didn't actually like that dynamic. But it was more my ex-boyfriend before would be like, yeah, it doesn't count as cheating if you still want to make out with that girl that you used to date sometimes. And I'm like, really? Okay, cool. And
Silly
he
boy.
would never say that about the guy I dated. That would
never.
It would be, oh, Matt, I mean, that would be end of the relationship. So again, misogyny, he doesn't see a woman as a real threat.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, ultimately, I did choose him if we're talking about choice, but it was never about because he was a man. It was just I liked him more. Yeah. I just had a deeper connection with him. It wasn't because I was like, oh, it's a girl, it's too hard. It was just we had a deeper connection.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you're like, I don't know how to say this, like compromising with the patriarchy because like you would be open to dating guys and like being with guys?
Because I'm sleeping with the enemy?
Yes.
Or have slept, I should say. I'm not currently sleeping with the enemy, okay?
Because you're the most like anti-patriarchy person that I know. Yeah. And so I'm like, do you ever feel like it's like your body is betraying you because therefore like you're sleeping with the enemy. You are compromising with the patriarchy.
Well, and even it's like I definitely still do things for the male gaze. It's like if you even think about it, getting Botox, doing beauty treatments, it's like that comes from the patriarchy. That comes from like women aren't allowed to age, but when men age, they get hotter. It's like I still participate in those things. I am nowhere near perfect. I know, it's a shocker. But yeah, I've definitely felt that where I'm like, why can't I just be all the way gay? Why? Because back to that radical lesbian manifesto, the whole point of that was talking more about lesbianism beyond sexual orientation. It was talking about lesbianism as a political stance, which was anti-patriarchy, anti-men. You're centering your world and your life around women, which I'm like, that sounds great. That sounds ideal. So yeah, and in that writing it was explicitly exclusionary of bisexual women because they called it that as sleeping with the enemy.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Which I guess we are. We did. We have. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sometimes it does feel like that. Like you're sleeping with the enemy. Like, oh, why would you choose? If you have the choice, why wouldn't you pick a girl instead?
Exactly.
On the flip side of the whole conversation we had earlier. Okay, what about like another one that I've experienced or I've heard people talk about a lot is that like almost like bi people equals non-monogamy.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, if you're bi, you're not going to want to be in a committed monogamous relationship because you want it all. You want both, right? It's like, don't make me choose. And I feel like that can make lesbians feel stressed out because it's like, especially if it is with a dude and not another woman for a lot of reasons. But like, I think, first of all, it's like, I think lesbians, the stereotype of lesbians is that they're extremely committed, extremely monogamous, like, and we know there's lots of poly lesbians out there, but that's the stereotype. Yeah. And so I feel like lesbians feel stressed out about bi girls because they're like, you don't want to be monogamous. And then also,
you'll never commit
to me. And then also you're going to be hooking up with dudes. And I feel like that stresses out lesbians because it's like,
it grosses them out.
It grosses them out because it's like they don't want to be hooking up with somebody who's hooking up with guys at the same time.
It feels like, based on things that I've heard from lesbians, which I find this so funny. I don't know why. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I don't have a problem with jizz, okay? But I know.
Yeah, I can't believe we were talking about this.
You're so uncomfortable. But it's like lesbian. It's like that. It just makes them feel so icked out. And again, I know there's tons of lesbians who will be like, that's not true. I don't feel that way at all and everything. I know. We're talking stereotypes.
We're talking stereotypes that lesbians have dick phobia.
Yeah, dick phobia. Exactly. Where
it's real. I have it.
Because, and the way that you also have explained it to me was like, again, it's like that a man is entering the bedroom. There's this feeling of like, I don't want a man in my sexual experience. Whereas
and now they're entering it inadvertently.
Yeah.
And I'm not choosing this. Like, I'm not wanting this man to be here, but he's here through you.
But then to me, that makes me kind of feel objectified, where I'm like, I'm not just like a portal to jizz, you know? Like, that's not all I am. I'm not a freaking fleshlight or something. So it's just like, I'm sorry that I have hooked up with dudes before. I don't know.
No, obviously.
No, I know.
We obviously get over it. Do you know what I mean? And it's such a silly one. And I know this sounds so ridiculous.
But I will say.
But I think it's.
I don't actually think it's just lesbians, because when I talk about dating bi guys, straight girls say the same thing, like, ew, you would hook up with a guy who's also hooking up with guys? Like, there's something about just like men. I don't know what it is. I don't think it is just, and I'm like, yeah, I just don't care. I don't understand what the big deal is. But yeah, so in defense of lesbians, I don't think it is just lesbians that have that. There's something people are like, just don't want extra jizz in the bedroom.
We don't want it. Just like, if we wanted it, we would be pursuing another path in life. And we chose not that path.
But the monogamous thing is, okay, again, sure, all groups have poly people. There are, I'm sure, plenty of poly bi people. But just because you want it all, that doesn't mean that you have to have it all at once and at the same time. Just because you don't want to decide, you know how I said, like, I feel like I don't want to decide. Why do I have to choose? That just means I don't want to have to decide if I'm straight or if I'm gay. Why can't I just be bi?
Does it just make you feel misunderstood?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And I think that's...
And what does that feel like? It's like to be on the receiving end of all these stereotypes.
Well, I think that it was in my own coming out experience, because we got together and it was just like, I don't know, I'm in love with this woman. We're getting married. I knew it in my soul before we had even kissed. And I was like, whatever, I'll figure out the logistics later. It was just very in the heart, following that feeling, and was like, my head will catch up. And so I didn't really come out as anything other than just, I love Alix, you know? And I was like, oh, and then I went through this whole process of, am I gay? Like, I had to really go through it. And I was like, was I gay the whole time? And I just didn't know. And I'm like, no. I'm like trying to think back to experiences. I'm like, no, I still feel like that was real love. And I liked these things. But it was 1.5 years. So we are already married at this point when I tell you. And I think we've talked about it before on the podcast.
Yeah, you walked into our bedroom when I was like reading or something. And you're like,
I have to tell you something.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. Like, you were clearly distraught. And like, this was going to be a serious conversation. You're like, I'm bi. And I was like, yeah, I know.
No shit.
You're like, no, I think I've always been bi. I'm like, yeah, obviously. You're like, no, but I need you to understand that I'm still attracted to men. I'm like, yes, honey, I know. I know that. It's okay.
Because, well, I think part of it was that first, the first thing that we had before we were even together, whatever your comment was. It's so funny. I don't even remember it now, because it traumatized me for 2 years, to where I was like, oh my God, is this going to be enough for her? Like, I felt like you wanted me to be a lesbian. And because you would kind of joke about it, And so I felt like you wished that I was, or like wanted me to be a lesbian. And I felt like if you knew that I was bi and that therefore I can still be attracted to men, it felt like I was betraying you.
Oh, honey.
Even more. Talk about like my body betraying me. But then I also felt like I was betraying you, because I didn't want you to feel like you weren't enough.
Yeah.
And so that was part of it. But then also part of this, why it was hard for me, was because of all these stereotypes, where it was like, am I not committed? Am I, like I had to like really think about these things in myself. I'm like, no, this doesn't feel true. And yeah, it was just like this general feeling of being misunderstood, because the reason that it really clicked for me I was listening to Cammie's old podcast that she had done with Jen. Do you remember her last name?
Winston? Is it
Yes,
Winston?
yes.
Yeah.
Good job. So if you're bi, you need to follow her on Instagram. Her name is Generous, and she is like the most bi person in the world. But I was listening to, and something in it just like clicked for me. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that's when it really clicked. I was like, I am all of these things. And maybe it was just the fact that she had so much kind of like pride in her bi-ness too.
Mhm.
Instead of this, it seemed like what I had started to notice was that when I would catch my thoughts or see or hear my thoughts going through my head, the thing that I would always say when I would be like, am I gay or am I just bi? And I always was saying the just, like it wasn't enough. And I was like, why doesn't it feel like it's enough? You know, why can't I be bi? Am I gay or bi? Why does it have to be, am I gay or just bi? Like I'm like settling on something that is bad.
Like you had to like prove your gayness as well.
It was that.
As if like being in a relationship with a woman and getting married to one wasn't enough. It's like, prove your gayness.
Because the thing that happens, I think, to all bi people, men and women, it actually happens more to men. If a man comes out as bi, they're like, just come out as gay already. You aren't, it doesn't seem like a destination you can land. It's like something you're supposed to pass through to get to the point. You're either bi and experimenting and you're going to end up straight, or you're bi and experimenting and you're going to end up gay. But to come out as bi is kind of like, okay, whatever, you still don't know what you are. And some people have that pipeline of the gay to bi or the bi to gay pipeline, you know, that happens and identities can change, but it's also enough to just come out as bi.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that in my own mind, I didn't think that was enough. Like I didn't feel like that was the destination. It felt like, oh, if I'm bi, then I'm nothing. Like it felt like that wasn't, because then you're not straight, you're not gay, you're just kind of hanging out in between.
The struggle is real.
Yeah.
The struggle is real. And it's so funny because it's like, so we've been together now, you know, like almost 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about like the street cred that we got after being together for 5 years. It's like, okay, we have enough credibility. We can start a podcast now. Like, we've been together long enough because we like move so fast. We knew people didn't take us seriously. But it's like, it's so funny. We talk about this all the time. It's like you have street cred now because you're with me.
Yeah.
It's like you've got the queer street cred. And
because you get classified differently if you're a bi girl with a man. People in the queer community are typically like, whatever, just another bi girl who's wanting to claim this space, but she's in the straight relationship. Versus a bi girl who's with a woman, if you're just dating, you definitely get more credibility. If you marry a woman as a bi girl, they're like, come here, we love you.
She's got the street cred.
I am in the club.
Yeah, and I do feel for all the bi girls who are in straight relationships where they're not always as welcomed into our spaces.
And I'll be totally honest that I have had those same, what's the word? Like that discrimination, I get. Like, what's the right word that I'm thinking of? But if I hear a girl is bi, but with a guy.
And she's married to a dude.
I'm like, whatever. It's not the same. And it isn't
You're like,
the same.
Is she even bi?
How bi are you?
How bi are you? Prove it. Prove your bi-ness to us. Prove your gayness.
Like, did you make out with a few girls in college and now you feel like you're bi? And also, by the way, you can be bi and never have even had a sexual experience with a girl.
Yeah.
Some people get married to a man super young and then realize they're bi later in life. They never even get to act on it, but they're just like,
why is it we really love like making people prove their gayness?
Prove you're gay. Prove it.
Prove it.
But it's so, I catch myself doing that.
Yeah.
If I'm told, and
I
am bi.
It's bad.
So
I know.
I get it, but it's not.
But so I do feel bad for those women because I'm like, they're probably really longing to have that space, because we were just talking about this with a friend the other night. It's so nice having all types of friends. We love our straight friends. We love our queer friends.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about having queer friends though, and like having that space with them, it's like a warm hug. It's like, it's the most comforting feeling to be around other queer women and just not have to explain yourself. You just get to be who you are. And there's this like understanding of all the things you went through, all the experiences you've had. And it feels so good.
And what I said to her that I'll say again, what it reminded me of is having been an expat in many countries, or just even traveled to many countries, but especially when you fully live in another country, you're an expat there, even if you learn the language fluently, even if you really integrate and that feels like home, there's usually a very different feeling of coming back to your own country of origin, the culture, the language, the habits, the way of doing things that is just truly in you. It's so innate. It's that second nature.
It's just like relaxing.
That it just, you have this like shorthand way of being able to communicate with people that maybe you can never fully get there when you are kind of like a foreigner, you know, in another place. And that's what it kind of reminds me of being with straight friends versus queer friends. It's like meeting a queer person, there's this immediate, you kind of just like cut straight to the point, it feels like.
Yeah, for sure. And so I do wish that we were more open-minded and like more welcoming of straight women who are in hetero relationships, like they're in a relationship with a guy, because I imagine it's like, first of all, I mean, I'm not bi, but what I picture is like you're straddling these two cultures. You never really fitting in with either. And, you know, and you are longing for that piece of you to be recognized.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, I'm pretty obviously not biracial at all, but whenever I specifically read or like hear speeches or things of people who are biracial, the way they speak about it, I can relate to so much. Where it's like, I'm not, you know, usually I hear it with half black and half white, but it could be all kinds of, you know, also with Asian, you know, whatever it is, of being like, I'm not black enough to hang out with the black people. I'm not white enough to fit in with the white people. And obviously, when you are similar to being bisexual, if you're biracial, sometimes you can look predominantly more black or predominantly more, you know, like the features, the hair, everything, it can show up differently, even if you really are, you know, your mom is one, your dad is the other. And similar with being a bi person, how it's like you can be bi, but maybe externally really present yourself super queer looking, obviously very queer looking, or more like me that just, you know, is more femme and straight passing. And so, you know, you're getting treated differently, not only by the two groups, but also by society as a whole. And I would say typically the group that is more marginalized, especially if you are more passing in whatever that form is, can be a little bit harsher with acceptance, because it's like you don't really know this experience that we all know and that we're kind of bonded over, which I understand. But it's also like, but I am that too. It's like, I don't know it the same way that you know it, because, you know, the same way that like you moving through the world, the way that you look and present is very different than me when we're separate.
It's totally different.
And I'll never know what that's like.
No.
But I do know what it's like to be queer and even gay, you know? So it's just hard, because it's like you want to be accepted. But the argument that I'm seeing online about that is like, it's not the same, like not being accepted into a marginalized community isn't the same as not being accepted into society as a whole.
Which is true.
Which is true. But the human feeling, like beyond the kind of politics of it, of just not belonging, that feeling is the same. And I think it's just like having a little bit more empathy and compassion for that, of that feeling of not belonging or feeling lonely in the world is
I think about it as like whenever I've moved across the country and I'm having to make new friends, the first thing I'm doing is like, I'm just like so desperate to make queer friends, because for me, it's the first thing that's going to make me feel like I'm at
settled.
Home. Yeah. It's like, I need my queer friends.
Yeah.
Or else I won't feel like this place is mine. And then I imagine that like all these, you know, bi women are out there who are in hetero relationships, and it's just like they have that same longing and they want to feel seen, they want to feel accepted, and they maybe are feeling lonely, or like because they're living in this straight world that doesn't see them for who they are. And I'm like, no, I want to like bring you in and wrap you up in an embrace and like let you be a part of our crew. So that's my biggest thing.
I think that you brought up a good point though the other day. It's not just about the person. Like, let's say the community does accept the person. Right now we're specifically talking about women. So let's say they accept the bi woman, but let's say her husband sucks and he's just a freaking weird straight dude that's now trying to infiltrate these events. Like, that can be a cock block for you to get in too.
Yeah.
Which sucks. Because then even more so, you can't express your queerness if your partner really doesn't get it. And then the gays or the queers are like, get that dude out of here, you know?
It's a real thing.
And that happens. I haven't experienced this as much just because I haven't been out as long as you, but you said you've seen it a lot.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that a lot where it's like, you know, a couple will show up to a space. The guy's trying to support his girlfriend, whatever. And my biggest advice is like, if you're going to do that, that's totally fine. I'm not a person who's like, you have to be queer to be in queer spaces, because I brought my straight friends around and whatnot, but they're cool. And my thing is like, just be cool. Like, and what I mean by that is
cool
like,
is so subjective.
What I mean by that is like, roll with what's happening, roll with the culture. Like, don't ask too many questions. Don't get awkward, you know.
Don't ogle and act like we're zoo animals.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't pay attention to things in a weird way. Just like let us live, let us exist and like be cool and have fun, you know? And don't make it weird.
Yeah. And I mean, once again, of things we disagree on and I told you, I think we could do a whole ass episode on straight people in queer spaces or like straight people in gay bars and stuff. Cause I'm more, which is so funny because I'm the bi one, you would think. And I have way more straight friends than you, for instance. But I'm more like, no, I get it. Like, let people, because that straight person can go down the street to anywhere else. Like, why do you have to come here? And I know you're like, they're wanting to be an ally and but whatever. I don't know. I'm kind of like.
My thing is just like, be mindful of who you invite into the space.
Yeah.
I have a lot of straight friends and they're just fucking cool. And my queer friends want to be around because they're cool and fun to be around and make them feel special and like have fun dancing with them and want to party with them.
Again, back to L Word because we are rewatching it. It reminds me of Kit.
Yeah.
You know, how she wants to be queer so badly.
Yes.
She tries it with the trans person. She tries it with Poppy. She's like, I'm just not. Like, she wants to be so badly.
But she fits in.
She's so cool. She's so supportive. So it is
my
possible.
Thing is like, just be cool, man. That's all I got to say. And if you don't understand what that means, then you're going to have a hard time. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, I want to talk about the Who Renee Rapp thing really quick. Okay, so we just have to talk about it because it's been such a big thing. Okay, so I'm going to read the quote from Betty Who, and we're going to talk about it. So Betty Who goes, this is from the Made It Out podcast.
Yeah.
I have so much space and love for those women who are probably going through it right now. I think it's hard when you become representative of something to other people and then you change or you are just following your heart. And then that means other people feel they are not represented anymore. The pressure of that is so immense. A huge part of queerness is identifying yourself and putting yourself under, you know, the alphabet mafia. It's like, which one are you? And this is me. Prove your gayness.
Yeah.
And she says, Renee Rapp is like, you'll never catch me dating a man. Like, go off, queen. I love that for you. But I also hold space for her in 10 years if she goes, oops, I met the love of my life and it's this man. I didn't mean to. It's like, that's okay. And so what Renee said back.
Well, can we talk about that?
Let's talk about it before. Yeah.
Because so that clip went, I mean, I don't want to say mega viral. It was circulating in the queer space. Probably straight people have no idea about that even happened, you know? So it was viral in our corner of the internet. And I just want to say, like we said at the very top, it's like them even choosing to have that conversation was, I mean, I hate the word brave in some ways in today's world where it's very watered down, but it kind of was, you know, of being able to just have that conversation. And whether they knew that was a brave thing to do or not, I don't know. Because it is scary for the exact reason of what happened, which was a lot of backlash. And also, I read a lot of the backlash, watched a lot of the videos before I listened to the full episode, and I kind of understood it because it was like, Renee Rapp is a lesbian. Why are you talking about her being with a man? It felt kind of insulting and kind of feeding into that trope of, oh, you just haven't found the right man yet. Yeah. Listening to the whole episode and just even hearing her tonality, I don't think that was her intention. I don't think she was trying to be offensive.
No.
But I can understand why that upset people.
Yeah. I really didn't take it the way the internet took it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because she brought up Renee Rapp.
Exactly.
Like if she would have just said like, yeah, if you're a lesbian but one day like you do fall in love with a man, like we should be here to support you in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in that sentiment because it's like we're watching all these people go through it, whether it's JoJo, whether it's, you know, Billy, whether it's Fletcher.
You had someone at work who had the reverse happen. Had the exact thing happen to me, but in reverse.
Yeah, I had a friend. She was a lesbian for her whole life until she was like 32. Met an awesome dude, and they got married, and it blew her mind.
And she had the same identity crisis and everything.
She had a massive identity crisis,
and just. And again, it's not the same as it is a coming out still of this new identity. It's not the same because society is going to be like, cool, you're welcome back to the majority. But it's still the identity, the belonging, the lonely, all of that, the feeling, the human feeling of it is the same.
Yeah. And it's, we should just be okay with when people find their soulmate, regardless of their gender, we should be happy for them. You know? And I think that's all Betty Who is saying is like,
which is, again,
we want to
be queerness is about?
Yes.
Isn't that what queerness is about?
It should be. That's what it's about. It should be, you know, we let other things get in the way. But I also understand how it comes across as like she hasn't found the right man yet. And I think it's just because she brought up like a very prominent lesbian.
Who is very much like, you won't catch me dead with a man.
That's right.
And I think Renee Rapp also originally identified as bi, speaking of the pipeline, and then was like, yeah, no, I'm definitely a lesbian.
Yeah, came out as a lesbian.
So it's like, no, I know who I am. That's not who I am. I'm not going to be with a man. It's not, you know, sexuality is fluid for a lot of people. But I said this in another episode recently where when I said I don't believe in heterosexuality, but because I'm like, I do think gayness is fixed. I've met people who are 100% gay. I don't think I know people who are 100% straight. So it's like, I can understand.
Honey, I think there are people who are 100% straight. I know that you don't want them to be.
No, but I can understand when gay people hear that, where it's like, yeah, I know sexuality is fluid and all, but this is not. This is who I am.
For sure.
So stop trying to change that.
Yeah.
But I can relate to Betty Who in the sense that I was surprised too when my person was a woman. It's like, let life surprise you.
Yeah, I think for sure. And so here's what Renee had said. She said, people are always going for lesbians. Someone's going to bring my name into the conversation if they want to be in the conversation. I mean, it's just very similar to the whole, she hasn't found the right man. It's incredibly similar. So let's be clear. I'm just like, what the fuck? What makes you think I'm going to end up with a man? Also, how about don't talk about me when it comes to a man? I'm very publicly in a very loving relationship with a woman. And so, and basically at the end says, you know, just focus on yourself. Don't bring my big effing lesbian name into your mouth and into this drama.
I like how you just censored effing when I talked about being
that way,
a portal to jizz earlier.
Oh, God. So anyways, we love Renee because she's a big ol' lesbian queen.
Yes. And I love her sass and everything, but it's partially cancel culture. It's also partially clip culture. You know, you are doing this long form content. We have to make clips in order to be discovered and for visibility. And also seeing clips out of context can spark a conversation that's not entirely accurate.
Exactly. I think that was my biggest takeaway was I saw all the backlash and initially I got upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
That was my initial response was like, I'm annoyed at that.
Like,
why would she say that?
Yeah.
And this is somebody who like, I was going to Betty Who concerts at Pride back in 2009. Like, I fucking love Betty Who. I'm like, why would she say that? Like that she's like the ultimate lesbian, even though she's married to a man now. Right. And so I went and listened to the podcast. And I was honestly, I was frustrated about the clips taken out of context. And I just felt frustrated because it's like, this is just riling people up. And it's clearly not her intention to the way it came across.
Yeah.
Like she was trying to encourage us all to be like open to whoever we decide to love. And that's the whole point of being queer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so.
And that's kind of back to what I said at the beginning, that queerness can have a different definition for everyone. I very much agree with you that I think that is so much a part of being queerness, and what we're constantly trying to teach straight people is like, let us love who we love, and who cares what kind of body they're in, and you know, all of these different nuances of expression, and then when it comes to each other, we can turn on each other really easily. And just speaking of one more podcast before I know we're wrapping up, but the Lesbian Supper Club made this amazing video that was talking about partially this, but was talking about division being used to create weakness in communities. And it's like, we need unification now more than ever. We see that again in our country at large. When things are very divided, that makes you susceptible to attack. And it's like, we are super divided. We're very quick to turn on each other. And now look what's happening with the Supreme Court. And, you know, it's like we are being weakened from the inside out almost. And I don't know. I just thought I really liked seeing someone with that size platform kind of have a call to action that I felt was more positive and encouraging than like, yeah, fuck bi people, or yeah, I can't believe that it, you know, wasn't inciting more rage around this conversation. And it just, I don't know, it was really, really refreshing to see. And I really liked it.
Yeah. We love our bicons.
We love our bicons, and we love our lesbians. And you don't have to date a bi person if you don't want to. But just remember, you could marry a really awesome one like me.
Yes. If I would have had my rules and walls stay up, I wouldn't have allowed myself to marry my soulmate.
Yeah. So
stay open.
Yeah. One more thing that, again, I think it applies to all people in relationships. Like, that is normal. You get burned in a past relationship, straight, gay, whatever, and you start dating someone new, and maybe you're treating them as if they've cheated on you because your last partner did, and they haven't done anything wrong, you know, and you end up self-sabotaging that relationship because of your past experience. That's really common. So it's like, I understand where the rules and all of that comes from. It comes from experience. But it's also, ultimately, it's like we're trying to meet people where they're at, meet them as they are, who they are, instead of meeting them with this projected past version of other people and other experiences on them. And that can also just help them feel more seen and be a better person, most likely.
So stay open.
Yeah.
Okay, honey.
Who's the problem?
So who is the problem this week for you?
All right, we're going to take a sharp turn into foot fetish town.
We love it.
We don't love it because my feet have been all over the internet for years now. And I don't know who, but someone started a WikiFeet for me.
10 million views.
Tens of millions of views.
Per picture.
How do I monetize this shit? First of all. But regardless, because of that, we are forced to wear socks in these episodes.
And it's warm in here right now.
I mean, today is not as bad. There have been days, maybe you noticed, speaking of clips, that we are shiny. That's because we're sweating balls. And it's not just because of the socks, but it's because it's so freaking hot. And then when you have to wear socks on top of it, because we're at home, we're in our living room, we're not going to wear shoes on the couch or in the chair. So we just want to be cozy. We can't put a blanket over our feet. But if our toes are just out there in the open, we'll get flooded. So it's like, am I the problem because all engagement is good engagement and let the foot fetish people come? And should I just let my toes be naked and free? Or are they the problem for targeting innocent podcasters who just want to be cozy at home? You vote.
I mean, my vote is that we're the problem and we should just let our toes be naked.
Okay, it's easy for you to say because you haven't. Some of the DMs I've gotten over the years. I'm on your
WikiFeet page, so I am a victim.
No, the DMs I've gotten, I've had full on like fanfic novels written to me about my feet and
what they want,
what they want them to do in the mud and like pressing on a gas pedal. Weird, like no. So I'm very cognizant of feet out in the open.
Yeah. So now we wear socks.
Yeah.
Sucks to suck. Who's the problem this week? Okay, so this is inspired by a friend who went on an online date and shows up to the date. She's excited to meet the girl, right? And the girl's bi. Okay.
And is the friend a lesbian?
And the friend's a lesbian.
Okay.
Okay. So she goes to meet the bi girl. They go to get drinks. And at the end of the date, basically that my friend finds out that this is the bi girl's first ever date with a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend was kind of like, this should have been disclosed.
Like,
you know,
before they even met?
Before they even met. She's
in
like,
the chat.
I should have had the ability to decide whether I wanted to go on this date
Okay.
with this information beforehand.
Okay.
So I want to know who's the problem. Like, should the bi girl have disclosed this information before going on the date? Or is my friend in the wrong?
I think I know much less about this than you as far as what's right and wrong. If it's her first date with a girl, then of course she's not going to know the ropes and the rules. So I do have plenty of understanding and grace for her. But I can also understand why your friend would have liked for her to have known, you know,
Yeah.
because if she had the same rules as you, as no baby gays, and maybe she wouldn't have gone. But also, we just talked about staying open. So it's like, without her what if that was her soulmate? And if she didn't meet her just because she's like, it's my first date with a girl, then she's just hurting herself.
Yeah, I could go both ways on this. I feel like, first of all, I understand wanting that information because
I would say if she withheld it until like the 5th date, then definitely that's in the wrong. But she still told her on the first date.
Yeah.
So
which I
that's
think is
why
important.
I'm like, okay, cut her some slack.
Yeah.
If she didn't want to tell you in the chat because she wants to go on a date with a girl.
Exactly. And she might have been getting turned down
Yeah.
because a lot of people will like not go on the date if
Yeah.
you've never been on a date with a girl before. So I understand like why she didn't share the information. I also think the information's important.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that she shared it on the date.
The
And
first
like you said,
date.
not 5 dates later.
Yeah.
And then like I also think she was respectful about it. She wasn't there to like
Exactly.
use my friend. Like she was just so excited to go on a date with a girl.
So earnest.
Yeah.
So baby.
So tell us what you think about
Vote
vote.
in the comments, on socials. You know where to find us. Wives Not Sisters Pod, TikTok, YouTube,
All the
Instagram,
things.
all the things. We love hearing from you guys.
And let us know what you thought about the conversation. We weren't the most politically correct. We may have said things that offended you. That was never our intention.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I think we were good, right?
Hopefully.
We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.